Hey everyone, welcome back to Brownlow Books. It is well into May, and I'm continuing my middle grade May. So this week we have Attack of the Black Rectangles by Amy Sarig King. Not in frame. There we go. um, as you can probably tell from half of it being blacked out on the cover, it is about censorship and banned books. Or so I had thought. It is very much about censorship. But that's just sort of the catalyst for Mac to sort of get angry. Mac has this close family and like these deep friendships, but he gets mad because everyone sort of lies to him. Who wouldn't? I wanted to compare this book to Answers in the Pages by David Levithan or Ban This Book by Alan Gratz, but I can't actually. This is like much more complex than either of those books. I mean, similar topic in that it's, censorship, banning books, adults deciding what's best for children when children know best kind of thing. But really, this book is about the truth. It is very nice, like I said, that he has, good family bonds, good friendships. The book is quite diverse in terms of about everything. Lots of mental health. It is very focused on that, which we will get to. Overall, I cried several times out of frustration and rage and sadness and just ran the gamut of emotions in this book. Yeah. Basically, to kind of set the stage here, they live in a small town. It's a touristy kind of town, but there's like a local lady who always gets these like little bylaws passed of just like stupid things like no pizza deliveries in this neighborhood. You have to go pick up your pizza. Or like no one's allowed to visibly like eat candy in the street. It's bad. It's a bad image, and kids are getting way too much like diabetes and like obeseness these days. One of those ladies, very disappointed that I am actually older than the lady that's doing it in the book. We are not all like that. It's fine. So there's this lady that always gets these kind of things done, and then turns out that she is the 6th grade teacher for Mac and his friends that year. So they get into the little book groups. They're doing their book. It is The Devil's Arithmetic by Jane Yolen, and they're browsing through the book when they first pick it up, and they realize there was blacked out words and phrases. And they're like, WTF. So they do find out what it is, and then they were like, why would you black that out? And so they go to the teacher like, why is it blacked out? And she's like, oh, well, some people find it uncomfortable. And so basically it's just this kind of like escalation through, the teacher to the principal to the school board to the town and beyond to be like, why is this being censored? Like, what's up? Which is nice to see kids fighting back against that kind of shit. I always love that. But yeah, that's sort of the basis. Mac's family is a little unconventional. He lives with his mom and his mom's dad, who is a Vietnam veteran and has PTSD, and his mom, who is a single mom, who actually works at a hospice for children, which is just like super fucking sad. So his dad is around on Saturdays, loosely used, because his parents are splitting up. Or have already splitting up. I love his mom. I love his grandpa. Like, I have such huge fucking feelings for his grandpa. Like, most of the times I'm crying it's over grandpa, to be entirely honest. Look, I'm tearing up. Mac's dad is kind of a weird subplot of the book. Um, like I said, he's there on Saturdays. They hang out in the garage. They fix this old car that's in there. And that's the time they spend together, according to his mom and grandpa. But sometimes his dad sneaks into the house at night because he still has a key. And he's like, hey, come on, we're going to go for a drive. And they like go to get like fucking milkshakes or whatever at like 1 a.m. Which like, hi, this kid's in 7th grade. He needs his sleep. Which brings us to his dad just being weird. It's never quite addressed what's up with his dad. Like his dad tells him things like this car is a spaceship and like I'm an alien trapped on Earth and I'm just like trying to get back home. I can't form human attachments. Like I didn't really love your mother. And like just so much weird shit is said to him. And it's just like, so it's kind of by the end it's like being played off that like he was having like a mental health crisis. And so he's going to get help for like these rage issues and like the fact that he lies a lot. And I'm like, hi, he's just a narcissist. But like at some points I thought he might be like schizophrenic and having like delusions or something. But it's never quite addressed what it is and why he's doing it. But at one point Mac is like, I feel like I'm my dad. I'm like my dad. My dad is like me. And I was kind of like, okay, there's been times in this book where I thought it was just like, maybe I missed an actual pointing out of it, but it was kind of like, I was like, is Mac neurodivergent? Because, like, I'm seeing things. And I was like, maybe it's just, maybe they're not saying anything because it doesn't matter because it doesn't. Or maybe it's not actually meant to be there, or maybe it is there and I actually missed the point where it was, like, outright said. I don't think it was. Anyways, that's unimportant. So, like, at that point, I thought, like, if he is neurodivergent, like, maybe his dad is neurodivergent, and that's why they're kind of, like, not kind of clicking, and, like, things just kind of feel weird with him and the family. Like, it's just not resolved well enough, not put it, like, it's just, it was weird. It was a weird addition, but it makes sense a little bit to, like, the point of Mac feeling like everyone is lying to him. But just the way it's gone about, like, it's kind of odd. It was kind of odd. So there's that. There's that I didn't like that much. Every character in this book does show growth and change, which is a really nice thing to have because a lot of adults in young adult books or middle grade books kind of feel stagnant. Like you grow up into an adult and you never ever change again. You're just kind of who you are forever, which is just not the truth. So there is that nice bit that like you do see change and growth and caring and all of these different things from the adults in his life, which is nice. I that's a thing I really enjoyed about this, that I was just like, wow, this book. Like it's just so much more complex than a lot of other young, like I would suspect that this is a young adult book, not a middle grade book. And I was just kind of like blown away at several times of like just the emotional maturity of it. Yeah. So, I do love the book. But ultimately, it's a bit of a letdown by the end of it. Because, you know, like in Answers in the Pages or Ban This Book, you know, the books get unbanned. The books are allowed to continue in the classroom. We are reading them. Everything is hunky-dory. The ending of this book is quite ambiguous, I want to say. Which is something that is mentioned several times, is that there's not a lot of stats on censorship. There's lots of stats on banning and challenging books, but not on like the necessary censorship that would exist like classroom to classroom like this teacher has done. You know, she claims that she did it because, you know, the word breasts makes boys uncomfortable. And so, you know, their argument is like, the devil's arithmetic is a young Jewish girl. Like, goes through the Holocaust. So they're like, well, that's what people would be doing in that exact situation. Like, she's a 12-year-old girl in front of like a whole bunch of like soldiers with guns, and she's naked. Like, of course she's gonna like try to cover her breasts. Like, that's a thing. And so they're like, why would that make anyone uncomfortable? Ooh, love his not friend. Like, low-key in love with his bully, which is such a weird thing to say. Like, this kid is in his book group, sits across from them. It's always going on about how, like, the earth is flat. Like he's a mega kid. Like, you know? Like, that's the kid he is. But, when he finds out that, like, the books are censored, he's like, hey, why is there black lines in my book and not your book? Because Mac bought his own copy of the book. And they're like, oh, I don't know. What does it say? Because, like, they're pretending they haven't seen it before he has. And so, he gets involved with them, and he's like, my dad is going to be so pissed. And it's great because his dad is at the school board meeting like, how do you fucking decide what my kid reads? And I'm just like, yes! Like, you can decide what your own children read. You cannot decide what every child reads. A lot of emotions. So like, low-key love his bully, like, even though he's a fucking idiot. Like, having his dad being like, my dad's gonna be pissed about this, than dad actually is. And, like, in a good way. Love it. Loved it. You know, there's another girl in their book group who's, Asian American. And so she goes by, I think it was Hannah. And then one day she's just like, do you mind calling me like my real name? And they're just like, what's your real name? Like, we thought your name was Hannah, right? And so she tells them like their real, like, I forget what it is now. It's been a week or two. Like Hoa or something. Something that would, you know, anglicize into Hannah. And they're like, oh yeah, okay. And like one of his friends says they're asexual, and they're just like, yeah, okay. And then like he's got like a little crush on his female friend, and they're just like, oh, alright. And you know, like I said, Grandpa has PTSD. And you know, Mom does a sad job. It's just like, there's so much like talk without talking about important issues in this book. Because like, you think about censorship, but like, you don't think about all the way the rest of these things interact, and it's just like such little bits that it's just kind of like, yeah, that's just how things are. It's not an issue. So I'd really love that. I feel like I'm rambling about this book now. Like, I've gone through all my notes and I'm just like going at it now. So yeah, it is a book about censorship that is actually a book about the truth. And I loved it. I loved it a lot. Even with the slight letdown of the ending, which is what I was going to get to, and kind of sidetrack myself. Yeah, so after the school board meeting, spoilers, the books just get returned to the teacher and put back in the closet, ready to be used for the next year, censored and all. So that's what I mean by the ending kind of being like a bit of a letdown, you know? There's no win of right over wrong, and you just kind of feel like, how many places and times has this happened in? It's the boxes in the warehouse at the end of Indiana Jones 3. That's what it feels like, where you're just like, oh, okay. No one is necessarily wrong, but there's no right done either. That's I can't believe I just compared it to Indiana Jones. That was a weird thing. So yeah, like by the end, it's just kind of like you have this hopeful feeling of like things are changing and happening. And so like things do change in the town. Like she no longer gets to decide what's right and wrong for everyone. But like in her classroom, she's not being held accountable for censoring these books. And the censorship will continue to the next school year. And so like that kind of like things have been corrected but not the thing we set out to correct, is the weird feeling that you have. So yeah. Should you read this book? Yes! It only has 2,799 ratings on Goodreads. I do think it was published in 2022. So that could be why it's just kind of like not on people's radar, I guess, because it's relatively new. But I feel like I have seen a lot. Yeah, September 2022, so like late 2022. But like, it feels very topical. Like, it topical. I did read a little author's note, and apparently she is like friends with David Levithan, and I'm just like, yeah, I can tell, and I love it. So yeah, should you read that book? Yes, I didn't tell you what the ratings were. 4.24 out of that, 2,800, which is awesome. And it is an awesome book. Ending and all, like, it's one of those times where I'm like, this ending is fine. It's not great. It's fine. But it is what it needed to be. Like, so many times things get wrapped up in a nice little bow, right? And this isn't one of those times. It is a realistic ending, and it is just like, kids can understand these complex ideas, and I love that. I love that. So for me, it's fine that the ending is absolutely not what I wanted to be, because, like, in Answers in the Pages, they're allowed to continue reading the book. And in Ban This Book by Alan Gratz, the banned book list is, like, not existent. All the books get put back in the library. Like, the librarian is the one who decides what's available and what's not some fucking parent somewhere. Sorry for swearing. It's the complex ending. It is such a vastly complex book that I did not expect out of a middle grade read, to be entirely honest. And so for that reason, I do love it. I do recommend it. I want more like it. Where the ending's not. So yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. Thanks for hanging out. I will see you around next time.